Alright, what's going on, everyone? I literally just got done watching VHS 94, and let's talk about it. I reviewed 1, 2, and Viral. I haven't seen 4 through 93 yet, but let's talk about VHS 94. 1994, I'm not sure why they chose that year. I mean, I don't know what's so special about 94. If there's a reason behind it, let me know. So, the plot for this movie goes as follows. A police SWAT team investigates about a mysterious VHS tape and discovers a sinister cult that has pre-recorded material which uncovers a nightmarish conspiracy. Is that what it's about? I had no idea because I couldn't hear anything. So, first negative, I can't understand a lot of what was being said in this movie. There's no captions that I saw. There was none available. There's a lot of incoherent just dialogue in the movie where I just can't make out a word. The one I understood the most was the foreign language one, ironically enough, because it actually had captions. So the ones that were English spoken, I didn't really hear what the hell was being said, and I just don't feel like blasting my TV at max volume, waking up my neighbors. So it's just there's something up with the audio in this one. I didn't have this problem when I watched VHS 1, 2, or Viral, but with this one, it seemed like background noise and whatever was going on was just drowning out everyone's dialogue. I just couldn't hear what the hell was being said, so I felt like I was missing information. And I think maybe I did because I did not know that that's what this movie was really about. I thought they were there for like a drug raid, but now the plot synopsis says that they're there for a VHS tape and there's a cult. What are they doing? I don't know. Again, this is a VHS movie with a bad wraparound. I didn't care about this wraparound at all. I could have done without it. Let's just do away with the wraparound if we're not going to make a good one. The best one so far is part 2. But yeah, in this wraparound, it has like a twist that's just like so whatever. I didn't care about it. There's a creature in one of these segments that I did not care for. The first one, the Ratman one, I did not like the look of that creature. It just felt like it was trying to be like The Fly or Aliens, the hot, like acidic, vomit coming out. It's like we've done this 1,000 times. And a couple of the segments were a little slow moving to me, like the first 2 especially. And once again, another VHS movie with just whatever characters. Like there's no interesting characters in any of these segments. No one that was entertaining or interesting. It's just like, here's a new person, and now they're in a shitty situation, and now they're dead. Like, okay, I don't care. It's just like, there's no great characters. Like, in Creepshow, in Trick or Treat, there's amazing characters in like every segment in those movies. Like, great dialogue. In this movie, it's just the dialogue, the characters, it's all meh, whatever. Like, I was underwhelmed by this movie. There's some CGI. I understand why it's in like the third segment. It's supposed to be like a video game. It feels and looks like a video game. So I understand why it's there. It's part of the gimmick. It's the 90s, so it looks like bad 90s CGI, but I could just do without that. I don't like CGI in my horror movies, especially when it's being used on gore. There's some gory moments in the movie, but some of it's CGI, and that just takes me out of it. I don't like it. And just like with a lot of found footage movies, there's a couple of questionable things being recorded. Where it's like, why are they recording this? Why? What? Like, I've never heard of the concept of recording funerals. That's new to me. I don't know why you would want to record that. I didn't hear the explanation. Like, that's a thing. No one wants to remember a funeral, so that's not going to be recorded, but whatever. So, any positives I have, I will say that, they really went for the 90s, look, the whole gimmick they achieved. Like, it looks like the 90s. They really take you back to that decade when you're watching this movie. Like, if you stuck this on and someone was watching it and they had no idea what year it came out, they would tell you, like, how old is this? This is like the 80s, 90s. Like, it has that look to a lot of the segments. They put like the filter or something, over it, and it just looks very grainy and just awful, but on purpose. So it looks like you're watching something on VHS from the 90s. So, the third segment, the one by the guy who helped make the Safe Haven segment in part 2, that's the standout segment in this movie because it's just absolutely insane. It feels like a 90s, horror video game, like a Resident Evil or a Silent Hill. Like, there's creatures in it, like robotic monsters. It just feels like a video game, like a horror action video game segment, and it has the most violence. It's over the top, and but the atmosphere and the set designs of the third segment and the second one, the funeral home one, I liked the atmosphere there. I thought it was kind of creepy a little bit, but yeah, mainly the third one. That's the one that's the highlight for me. That's the one that I will remember from this movie. The rest are just fine and just forgettable to me. So, final thoughts. I was underwhelmed. I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie. It was just a bit of a disappointment. None of the segments really stood out as great, like VHS 2, where I loved like all three of them. Or there was four. I loved like two or three of them, and I really liked the other ones. There was not one in there that was like fine. They were all great. This one's more like part one, where it's just like there's one I kind of like, and then the other ones are just whatever. So I was just again disappointed. So, but if you like the other movies, I think you'll like this one. I think it's a little better than the first one, just slightly. It's not as bad as part 3 viral, but it's definitely nowhere near as good as part 2. So when it comes to VHS 94, maybe just stream this on Shudder or rent it at Redbox. Alright, I guess I'll do a quick spoiler discussion. There's not a whole lot really to discuss here, but at the end I will do a quick segment ranking from worst to best, or best to worst, whichever I want. So, in the opening, we start with the wraparound, I guess, which is the segment called Holy Hell. And the SWAT goes there. There's a bunch of eyeless people. Their eyes are all like all gouged out, ripped out, whatever they did. I don't know, but they're looking at static TV, so it's kind of a weird, creepy visual. And then we just jump into the next segment, and that one is Storm Drain. Is this news reporter lady who is a recovering alcoholic, I guess, and she bumps into this dirt and shit covered bum in the sewers, who leads her to this like cult down there, and they have like all these weird symbols written on the wall. They're worshiping this Ratman monster down there, and they're like feeding it people, I guess. I don't know. I feel like we could explore a lot here. Like, what exactly is going on with this cult? How long have they been down there? Why are they worshiping this thing? What exactly is it? It's a rat man. Like, what caused it? What created it? Was it man-made? Is it just a science experiment gone wrong? Did it come from space? Who the fuck knows? And I don't care. But it's like vomiting black tar or some kind of acid on people's faces. Something out of like The Fly too. Just their faces melting off and kind of gory and cool. And then I guess she got infected, and she goes on the news panel with the other anchor. She turns towards him and spits a bunch of shit right on his face, and then he starts tearing his own face off. And that's the highlight of this segment. And then the next segment, very similar. It's just like whatever for the first like 15 minutes, and then when it wraps up in the last minute, it's like awesome. Just for like a few seconds. It's like the last minute of segment 1 and the last minute of segment 2 that were memorable and cool, but it was just like such a slow moving build up to an okay payoff. I just wish the whole segment could have been filled with some interesting, cool things, but whatever. So the next segment, The Empty Wake, is about this woman who is hosting this wake, a closed casket, and she is alone and no one shows up. But why are they filming this shit? I don't know. Like, who the hell would want to record this stuff, and why are they recording way before the wake? No one's there yet, and they have every camera recording, wasting battery life for nothing. And why she keeps the cameras rolling for hours after the wake was supposed to start and no one's there. How long was she just going to sit there? But then one guy does eventually show up, some like Italian Loomis guy who mutters a bunch of gibberish, and I'm assuming Italian or something. I don't know. Latin. Pick a language. Doesn't matter. But then he just walks on out, and then, she's hearing noises coming from the casket. There's a tornado siren going off. There's a storm coming. It's, atmospheric. I like the setting. It's creepy. A funeral home, being by yourself. You're hearing shit coming from the casket. And so that would be kind of creepy. So, and then when the guy breaks out, his head is like half missing, slid off. The guy jumped from a building and landed face first, I guess, and his hands severed for some reason. And it's just like this half head zombie walking around, and then he's like blind, his eyes are on the other part of the head that's like on the ground. So yeah, she's just trying to be as quiet as she can, and then he attacks her, but then like a hurricane wind like busts out the windows, and then she just stumbles on out and survives and walks away. The end. And so then the third segment. Question. I'm not a coroner, but this was a awake. They did an autopsy, right? Like he had guts spilling out. Wouldn't that shit be gone already? Don't they do that? When you're dead, don't they just take all your organs out? Or do you have to be an organ donor? Like, I don't know. Just a question I had. I thought his guts would be empty. They take that shit out, I thought. They cut you up, they take all your organs, and they give it to people who need it, But his guts were still in there, and they just start pouring all out, so I don't know why they would still be there, but whatever. So the third segment, the Mad Scientist segment, is called The Subject. This is from the directors of the Raid 1 and 2, or not, it's the second guy. He did the Safe Haven one and The Night Comes for Us, right? So I don't think he did the Raid 1 and 2, but he's friends with that guy, right? So this one looks the best picture quality wise. Like the camera they're using for this, they don't have like a 90s looking filter. It looks HD. It looks the best out of all of them. So I like that. I appreciate that. And this one also looks and feels like a video game at times with all the CGI like cyborg guy. He's got this giant blade arm. He just looks like a video game boss battle type of villain, it's just like, but yeah, the SWAT team comes in. For some reason, they're recording their execution of this guy. They're like a firing squad going above the law, like they're doing their own justice. They're supposed to arrest the guy, but they're recording themselves executing this guy. For what reason? They're not supposed to be doing that, right? So, and then it makes sense why the other things are being recorded, because this guy is recording his experiments. So that makes sense. So I like the setup here. Makes sense why it's being recorded. The wake segment, I don't understand why that's being recorded. So anyways, so this one, it just has a bunch of CGI blood and gore and people getting ripped apart by this monster. And, by the end, she just rips the guy's like brain out, and then the end, right? But there's one good practical effect in this segment, and that's when she like rips the pipe off the wall and she like shoves it through the guy's cheek, out the other cheek, and then she like pulls it out, just ripping the skin off. Awesome. That looked like a good practical effect, but then everything else was horrendous 90s video game CGI. So I don't understand. So that's the end of that segment. I don't think there's much else to say. I like seeing her like she like puts on like a gun on her hand. She's like Ash with a chainsaw, but she's got like a gun hand. She's just shooting people. Or like the Planet of Terror, right? Where the chick has like a machine gun leg, so it's like that, but the arm instead, and she's shooting people in the face. Like I said, very video game-esque here. This feels like something that I would be playing on my PC. So then we get the fourth segment, and it's this religious, like patriotic militia, and they're gonna blow up this building by using this blood, I think, something from this superhuman that they found. And I'm not sure how they knew this guy had this power, how they discovered that. I would like to know. And how they were going to use that to blow up this building. Exactly how that was going to help them out in their cause. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. Like they're blowing up a bunny. That made me laugh. That was pretty funny. So they take the guy's blood, they inject it into the bunny. So is the guy a vampire? He doesn't look like a vampire. His mouth opens up later on. He's got like this predator mouth or some. Is that like the monster in Blade 2? It's been a while since I've seen Blade 2, but he's got like the big mouth. Those creatures. I think that was in Blade 2, right? But he's got that going on, and he's like a vampire, I guess, because the sun causes you to blow up if you have whatever the fuck this guy has, whatever disease, vampirism. Like they blow up, and they put it in a bunny they have it in a cage. They're waiting for the sun to go up, and then when it does, it blows. It was just hilarious. And so, yeah, they all get infected because they're a bunch of fucking idiots. The guy on the turret gun, he just starts randomly blind firing like a moron, and then his friend has to shoot him to get him to stop. I don't understand what the hell was going on there. That guy wasn't drunk. Why was he acting like that? That was just ridiculous. But he shoots one of his friends, and then he gets himself killed, and then the one guy steps outside, blows up, so the blood, that it infects all of them. So then they all start blowing up. We only see like one of them blow up though, but it's implied that they all blew up. So, and then we get to the wraparound where we find out that the SWAT girls were also in charge of this cult, and they specialize in fetish videos and snuff films and whatever. I don't know. I couldn't really hear everything, like I said, so I was picking up every other word. It's like, what are they saying? They make these VHS tapes for their cult and money and stuff like that, and I don't care. So, and they said that their Slater, their angry SWAT leader guy, he was in one of those tapes. I didn't recognize him. So, and then they just kill him. They bash his head in with the camera again and again, and the end. So, my ranking of these segments, really quick. My least favorite one is Holy Hell, the whole wraparound. Could do without that one. And then my second to least favorite will be the Empty Wake. Very slow moving. I like the last couple minutes there, but just very slow moving. And then the Storm Drain would be my third least favorite, so number 3 of 5 segments here. And then my fourth one would be the Terror one with the exploding bunny rabbit. And then my favorite one, of course, is The Subject. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on VHS 94. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's just an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.